My next guest is making his long-awaited UFC debut at UFC 273 on April 9th, taking on Mickey Gall. It's proper Mike Malott, back here on the program. Mike, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. We were kind of joking off air. I haven't done an interview with you since I want to say maybe 2016. It's been a really long time, and now here you are in the UFC, man. So that's awesome. Let me just start first with, when did you find out about the fight? Did you get? It seemed like you got a full camp for this one.
Yeah, I had a nice long camp for this one. So I kind of was trying to stay ready since the Contender Series fight, hoping to get something before the end of 2021. So just kind of kept the camp rolling. And then nothing before Christmas and found out about this one just after the New Year. So like January 3rd. It was early in January I found out about this one. So got a nice long camp for this one. Got 3 months. So more than ready going into this one.
Chomping at the bit. Yeah, we'll talk about camp in a sec. I know there's some different stuff sort of heading into this one, but we didn't actually get to talk before that fight for Dana White's Contender Series. And I know you really started getting back into fighting, I want to say in 2021, but there's been some gaps. I actually just checked this out. You made your pro debut in 2011. You've only fought 8 times since then. I know coaching was kind of the focus, but for people who might not be aware, why have you not been as active over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I took some time off from fighting. Just the passion wasn't there. Didn't really want to compete in MMA anymore, to be honest. Like, I was thinking I was probably a couple fights away from the UFC, and we were looking for a fight, and I was like, okay, maybe win this one and hopefully go to the UFC. That was in like 2017 or something, and the idea didn't even really excite me anymore. I was like, you know what, I'm going to take some time away and just focus on some things that I'm enjoying, and coaching role fell into my lap from Uriah, and just focused on that for a few years, and the passion kind of came back. We were at all these events, and it was just like starting to feel like, you know what, I need to be in that cage. So made another run at it in 2020.
Yeah, and it's obviously worked out. Here you are in the UFC. Did you notice sort of over the years when you're rolling with guys, you're like, these are UFC guys that are, getting coached by me. I could probably hang with some of these. Did the confidence kind of build up, going into that coaching role?
That definitely helped with the confidence, definitely helped with the MMA IQ. I was at a lot of these UFC fights and high level fights and seeing guys around my size. I'm like, damn, this guy's in here doing well. Like, I could definitely beat this guy. So, that kind of played a part in it. But yeah, definitely training at Alpha Male gave me a lot of confidence heading into these fights for sure.
I would always do an interview with like an alpha male fighter, and they would always reference you. And I used to, get excited because, you're a Canadian, and obviously like it's cool to see, fighters, making their way down there. So I always knew that, like, you're well respected and all that, but it's just cool to see you go on this run now and get there. Just quickly going back to Contender Series, like, could that have gone any better? Getting that win, getting the contract, like, was you able to actually enjoy it and soak in the fact that you finally had made it to the UFC at that time?
That was a pretty sweet one, man.
Yeah.
You first get up, and I was excited with the win, and it's a little emotional at first, but 20-30 seconds went by, and I looked in my corner, and I was like, that's it, man. Like, we're done. Like that, I don't, there's no more fighting to be done tonight. Like, that's it. That's everything I've been working toward for years. It's finally paid off and kind of come to fruition. And it's 39-second submission. It was pretty surreal, man.
And my last question, just because, again, when I interviewed you back in the day, you were a featherweight. I mean, I don't know if people remember, you fought Hakeem Dawodu, who's still a featherweight. You're now fighting at welterweight. How much has that made a difference too, just not having to cut that much weight?
Oh, it's making a huge difference. My last 2 fights. So I started fighting in 2011. I was 19. And I was like, I wasn't like a big kid. I was a late blooming kid. I didn't 100 pounds till I was 15. So kind of as I grew as a fighter, I physically grew and got bigger. So I started at featherweight and just kind of always thought of myself still as a featherweight. And it just, like, eventually the years went on, and it was like, you can't keep doing this, man. Like that Dawodu fight, and then the next one I fought in Bellator, those were just some horrible weight cuts. Like, even fight day, I was dizzy as hell going to the fights. I missed weight for the Dawodu fight. It's the only time I've missed weight by a pound. And he and I are actually buddies now. We've been messaging. He saw that I made it to the UFC. He's like, dude, congrats. So sick you made it.
That's awesome.
With it. So I was like, giving him props after before and after his last fight. He looked great in that fight. So yeah, we've become buddies since. But it hasn't been like a big effort in trying to put on this weight. Like, I'm not a massive welterweight, but I definitely don't feel outsized by guys in the weight class. Like, 155 was a pretty pretty good weight class for me at the time. But when I decided to stop fighting, I wanted to compete purely in jiu-jitsu. My goals shifted from UFC toward like 80 cc. And so I started like lifting more weights, just moving more toward grappling. And I'd never really lifted weights before because I was like 6'1", trying to fight at featherweight. And that was just never the call. So lifting a little bit of weight, just the weight came on quickly. And I like the way I feel better at this weight. So I'm just staying up at welterweight now.
And a cool fight for your debut. You're fighting Mickey Gall, who's obviously got a lot of notoriety, with him, making his way to the UFC. But you guys actually have, almost a similar record here in terms of the amount of fights professionally. What do you know about him? How do you feel like you match up against him in this fight?
Yeah, he's tough, man. I mean, he's been cutting his teeth in the UFC since like his second fight, right? Like I know,
Yeah.
that debut in the UFC wasn't exactly against a high level fighter, but since then it's been like UFC caliber guys, right? Like he's got some wins against tough guys. Not exactly the upper echelon of the division, but he beat Sage Northcutt, who's a buddy of mine when Sage was pretty young.
That's right. Yeah.
He's got some big wins. So he's got some things I've got to respect for sure. His ground game's pretty solid. Looks like if I were to rank kind of where his skill sets would be, I'd say like his jiu-jitsu, his striking, and then his wrestling. And then I would kind of I'd flip that for like the advantages that I have. Like, to be perfectly honest, I think I'm better than him everywhere. I know a lot of guys say that, but I do actually genuinely think I'm better than him everywhere. I would say
Okay.
biggest gaps probably in our wrestling, followed by the striking, then jiu-jitsu. Like his jiu-jitsu is his best aspect, but I'm a high level black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. As I was saying, I was looking to go try to make that run toward 80 cc before I wanted to come back to the UFC. So if it goes to the ground, I'm more than happy to play around down there.
And when we were setting up this interview, I actually had the wrong time zone because I'm in Vancouver. So I figured, hey, you're in California, same time zone, but you're actually back east. What does camp look like leading into this? Because I guess you're back home, right?
Yeah, I've had an amazing camp. So this is the first camp in a while that I've done back in Ontario. I've been since like the first wave of the pandemic cooled down, I've been spending a lot more time in Canada. Just like when things slowed down, man, with the pandemic, it just makes you, or gave me the opportunity rather, to reflect on some things that I wanted to do in life. And one of them was like, no, I really do want to fight again. Like, let's make another run at this. And then it was like, as crazy as shit is, it's like, you don't know how much time you have. You don't know how much time you have with your family. It's like, it's important to me to be in Canada. As much as I love Sacramento, like those guys, Team Alpha Male, those are my boys. CSA, I love those guys. Like that'll be my team forever, but it's been a lot more important for me to spend time around my family. And, I want to raise, when I have a family someday, I want to have my kids up in Canada and I want to raise my family up here. So it kind of makes more sense for me to spend a little more time up here. So as that was happening, like as I was spending more time up here, Niagara top team was really taking off. Like they've got a stable of killers now.
So many good fighters up there. Jeffrey, Anthony Romero, like, sorry to interrupt, but it's like the new happening gym in Canada. I love it.
It is, and it's perfect for me, especially now that I'm competing at a heavier weight class, right? Like Jeffrey and Romero have been basically my two main training partners for this camp. I've had a ton of other guys that have been helping me, and then just having like coaches' eyes on me constantly for every session. Things are tailored to me specifically. It's a lot of one-on-one sessions, or like coaches watching me and one other guy train. It's been like a really good experience. Granted, my time at Alpha Male has been amazing as well. Like I've had tons of experiences that I never would have gotten had I never trained at Alpha Male. But just kind of like two different yet complementary styles. So like one kind of fills in the gaps of the other at times.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Are you still like in touch with like the team over at Alpha Male? Like, are they part of this camp, or is it just strictly at Niagara top team?
Oh yeah, no. So Danny Castillo is going to be in my corner. He cornered
cool.
me
Okay.
in the last one. And then I was down there for like 2.5 weeks. I brought one of my jiu-jitsu coaches, Andre Grambois. He runs a jiu-jitsu academy in Hamilton, Ouroboros Jiu-Jitsu. He came down to Alpha Male with me. He's like one of my coaches and one of my main training partners too. So we went down there, had 2.5 weeks in Sacramento, training with the team, training with the coaches, just getting lots of good work in, and then came back up here for the rest of camp.
Do you have to cut much weight to get to 170?
I mean, I've got to cut weight, but it's not like a massive thing. Like It's funny, like when I used to fight at featherweight, it's like, okay, we've got to fight in like 6 weeks time to like transform your body, which is
Right. Yeah.
just so stupid because like, I mean, granted, when I was younger, fighting at featherweight made a lot more sense, but it was like I've always been a lean guy. Like I've never been a fat guy. It's not like I go out and eat poorly and have like a terrible metabolism and have to like shed fat to make weight. Like I walk around pretty lean all year round. It's like it doesn't make sense for me to drop 30 pounds or 35 pounds to, to try and make lightweight when I'm like, all right, you know what? I walk around, like my walk around training weight is the weight I'll get in the cage at too. So I like that. All the sparring I do throughout the year, it's like I'm normally like probably, I don't know, probably like 187 or something when I'm training. So it's like
That's cool.
that's probably what I'll be when I get in the cage. It's not like that big of a cut for me though. So I'm mostly just focus on it like fight week. I don't really have to think about it a ton as long as I like eat healthy.
How's this fight playing out on April 9th?
It's not going 15 minutes, man. No disrespect to him. He's tough. He's fought a bunch of good guys and they've had trouble putting him away. But if you look at my resume, like you said, I haven't had, I haven't been super active over the span of my career. But when you look at all the wins, none of my wins have gone past 2 minutes. And it's not because I go out there and I'm reckless and chaotic and I'm just like spazzy trying to get out of there. It's just the way that my style lends itself to fights. Like I go out looking for the finish. Like I'm always looking to put guys away. Again, it's intelligently done, but I think I've gotten pretty good at finding submissions, finding the chin. I'm accurate. I'm powerful. I'm athletic. I know the game in and out. So I'm either finding a chin, finding a neck, or finding a limb. I don't care which one it is. As you see through my record, it's 3 knockouts and not like some TKO type things like knockouts, and then 4 first round submissions, 2 on the neck and 2 on the arms. So doesn't matter to me how it finishes, but I'm not letting this guy go 15 minutes with me.
Do you want sort of a quick turnaround after this? I mean, you mentioned the activity, or is it just see how this fight goes, reassess, and kind of go from there? Are you taking it fight to fight?
Taking it fight to fight, man.
Yeah.
Again, I see myself stopping him, but he's not a guy I'm like looking past. He deserves all my respect. He's got my respect. He's got my attention. He's going to get all my attention on April 9th. I'm looking at that night only.
Do you have a manager, or do you negotiate with the UFC directly?
No, I've got a manager out of Team Alpha Male or Alpha Male Management.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Wasn't sure about that. One cool thing, I mean, I tweet about this all the time because I'm a huge hockey fan. Your brother just got called up by the Winnipeg Jets, did he not?
Yeah. So he played a preseason game the weekend I fought on Contender Series, and then played his first official NHL game a couple weeks ago or a week ago. Got called up by the Jets and had a pretty good game, and he's been in the AHL, like playing for their farm team, the Manitoba Moose, and he's just been killing it. Gotten a scrap last night, actually.
That's awesome. Do you guys still keep in touch a lot, or is it tough with your schedules?
I mean, it's tough with our schedules, but he's one of my best friends. I love that kid, so we're in touch as much as you can be.
Your parents have got to be thrilled. Like, you're in the UFC now. He's getting called up to the NHL. Like, talk about some good parenting, good genes there. If you guys are both competing as high level athletes at a high level,
it's been pretty cool. Yeah, my dad's flying out to Manitoba to watch one of my brother's games this weekend, and then they're flying down next weekend to Jacksonville to come watch me fight. So he's got a good week of family athletics ahead of him.
Are you a big hockey fan? I don't know if I asked you this before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch it like religiously, but it's constantly on at the house. My dad's a huge hockey fan. My brother's a huge hockey fan. So it's on at the house all the time. So I end up watching a lot of games with them and then watching my brother's games pretty consistently.
Are you a Leafs fan?
I was until my brother went to the Jets.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, Winnipeg. Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, they're making a bit of a push right now, trying to get in the playoffs. My Canucks are, trying to. I mean, I don't think they'll make it, but Winnipeg's been kind of an interesting team because they've been sort of on a surge right now. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the standings at all, but it's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. And then just last question, Downtime. What's that been looking like during camp? You getting into any Netflix? You playing any video games, or is it just watching a bit of hockey? What have you been up to?
Yeah, my girlfriend's got me onto these like serial killer documentaries and all that stuff. Like she listens to the podcast and stuff, and I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. And then I start listening to them. I'm like, oh shit, this stuff is so addictive.
It pulls you in. I'm the same way. I like that stuff. The documentaries, like the murder mysteries and stuff. I think that stuff, like the documentaries, are really cool.
Yeah, I've been on I've just finished the Unabomber ones on Netflix. So there's like a reenactment one, and then the documentary one. I just finished both of those, and those are just like absolute candy.
And if you want to see some violence, you got to tune into UFC 273, April 9th. It's next Saturday. Mike, thanks so much for doing this. We got to do interviews closer together next time, not so long in between, but it's always good talking to you, man. Just anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you to Marshall Inu has been helping me this camp.
Nice.
Recruiting Body Podcast, Alpha Male CSA, Niagara Top Team, Crew Alin will be cornering me for this fight out of House of Champions. Andre Gramblot, Ora Boris, Aegis, and BTC. Thanks to all my teams. Thanks to all my coaches. Thanks to Danny Patterson, my mental coach, and Dr. Ed Gray, my physiotherapist.
Make sure to subscribe to the Low Kick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.